to the She Social podcast. My name is Ms. Cosmo. Thank you so much for joining me again for episode 2. Quite keen to actually be having the conversation that we're going to have today. Firstly, thank you for joining me for the first episode with Moonchild and Nikki Newlands. But for today, we do have the one and only Rouge. Who's going to be joining me. We're going to be chatting about all her music, her accolades, where she's going to be going, her new puppy that she's actually just shown me now. So we're going to bring in the dog again. And we're going to have some fun with regards to our conversation today. How are you, Rouge?
I am amazing. And yourself?
I'm good. How's lockdown treating you? You're not feeling too caged? Because, some people are feeling like... I saw someone tweeting the other day to say, for the introverts, it's okay to be indoors because they're used to being indoors, but we need to focus on the extroverts.
Now that I think about it, I think I was also low-key an introvert because I'm loving this lockdown beyond. And also think because I'm such a homebody. Everyone knows it's like getting reached to the house is a problem.
Clubbing. Ish, I forgot about you.
So for me, this is great. No, man, like honestly, I'm really enjoying it in terms of just having me time. I feel like especially us people in the industry, we've kind of lost that. It's always what's next, what's to do next, what to do next, really focused on, the outside things. But now it's really about myself. I'm really, paying attention to my mental being, really focusing on my family a lot more, focusing on my friends. Funny enough, like I had a real honest conversation with my friend like a few days back that needed to happen, that made me realize, gosh, this industry has just made me just keep going and going and going. And I really lost touch with a lot of things that really, really matter. And of course, the music is doing so great because there aren't 1,000 opinions around me. It is the best time to create music for me. So, yeah.
So are you creating a new album? What is actually happening from a creative space for you?
Not even creating a new album, created. Like this album is done. Expect an amazing email probably by tonight, friend. It's very important. You are needed. But yeah, like everyone knows, I've been pretty much exclusive. Now everyone knows like I've been working on this project for a while. I'd say like a good 2 years, going on 3 years. I've been actually working on this project. The sophomore from the New Era sessions. And I think with this lockdown, it kind of gave me perspective in terms of what I was trying to do with this project. I had proper conversations with the right people in terms of trying to find my direction. And once I had my conversations and blocked out everybody, I finally made the music. And it's time. It's really that time. Lockdown, I know a lot of people have been worried in terms of this has ruined a lot of plans in terms of us releasing music, releasing projects and stuff. But for me, I took it as a time to really for us to go back to the drawing board and making sure that we're not releasing stuff just because we want to put stuff out or we're trying to have the most popping song. Because as we've seen, music is just, it's not being digested. Yeah. Everything is just, okay, what now? What have you dropped? Okay, moving on. And it does nothing. And that's not what I wanted for this project. And I'm really excited with the route that I've taken with this because the most important thing that I wanted to do was create a conversation. Everything has just been, oh, Rouge can rap. Rouge just dropped music, but now it's okay. Wait, no, Rouge dropped one by one. Wait, why is she taking that route? New type of fans are coming in. Yeah. My old type of fans are realizing that there's a lot more. That there's an evolution happening that you need to jump on the board with. So I'm enjoying the conversation that is happening right before I release this project. That's what needs to happen, a conversation.
I actually wanted to find out what the thinking was with regards to that because I think, and I think it was also perfect timing, if I must add. Firstly, a lot of people, when they saw that you're going to be doing a collab with AKA, everyone was like, yo, the bars are going to be hard. Bars. Yeah. AKA rapper, it's going to be rap. Yeah. And then you guys gave us a pop song. And then we were all like, what's going on? But in retrospect, it's also now a bit of a 360 or 180 rather, because at this point where we're in lockdown, hip-hop streams have decreased because people aren't listening to club music, but they're listening to more acoustic, they're listening to more R&B, they're listening to more pop. Yeah. Do you find that's working in your favor, especially with the single? And why the direction to actually go with that single?
100%. And what I actually tweeted that people didn't realize is that I've never gotten so many number ones off one song.
Really?
That was the funniest thing. I promise you. One by One was my first overall charts #1. It was my first, in terms of the Rams, I've never gone so high on the Rams, whether it be from radio, whether it be from television, whether it be even just from views, you know what I mean? The conversations that had happened with that song, I knew it was going to stir a lot of emotions in the beginning because people expected something that they're so used to from me. And the reason why I wanted to go that route, and who else other than the super mega, the biggest pop star in the game. And even when I spoke to him, that was the chat we had, because I told him I was so worried because even before the song came out, people already had this idea of what to expect and how they're going to be jamming to the song. And I knew that it was going to create, positive conversations, negative conversations, and I wasn't sure how I was supposed to feel about it. And even when I spoke to him, he told me exactly what I needed to hear in terms of Rouge. You are not the same Rouge as the New Recessions. You are not the same Rouge as, the Baddest remix. And it is about you making the music that you are proud to put out, so that even if it doesn't get to where you want it to be, you did it on your own terms. Because what's going to happen is you're going to put something out that people expect you to make, and then they're going to be expecting you to keep making that. And then you are going to be so unhappy in what you're doing. And then at the end of the day, you're not going to be the artist that you want to be. You're just going to be the artist that people expect you to be in this industry. And I think that's one thing that no one can really take away from that guy. He made sure that he is exactly who he wants to be, regardless if we like it, if we hate it, and it's always gone in his favor. And, if there's one thing I wanted to take from that, was that I really needed to make sure that I was walking to the pace of my own drum in this industry, especially now because women in hip hop have become such a conversation. And I need to make sure that now the limelight is on us, that I'm doing this the way I want it to be done. Yeah. And when I dropped One by One, 100% there were negative comments. There were good comments. There were confused comments. But I was ready for that. I was ready for the backlash. I was ready for the process of having to win over supporters, the process of having to win over new fans. I was ready for that process. And that's exactly what happened. Like I said, I'd never been on so many charts at once. Never. I'd never had so many people that never listened to my music before start listening to me because they felt like, they only knew the speed rapping Rouge or the hardcore Rouge. And now they had a Rouge that they could listen to in their car, with their family, with their friends, not just when she's on stage or when she's put in front of you, And yeah, I was really happy about that moment. And that made me realize, this is the type of artist I want to be. I'm not just one-dimensional. And finally, people are starting to get that.
I think a lot of people don't know completely who the full Rouge is. And like you're saying, you're starting to introduce who that holistic Rouge is. Because, we got a sample of it in the New Era sessions when you gave us Sheba Wano. Obviously now with One by One with AKA, you're also getting a new side of Rouge that people haven't really tapped into, where your singing is also a very prevalent part of Rouge. But I think people also didn't realize and didn't expect it as much as well when you won your SAFTA, because I don't think a lot of people know that you study drama in university. So you've got a drama degree, and film was your biggest subject, I think, at that point. Why was it so important for you to put together a piece for you to submit to the SAFTAs in the first place, for you to actually even win that SAFTA, which was a first hip hop?
Funny enough, it wasn't the plan to even submit for the SAFTAs. I just wanted to, I knew that, okay, with the New Era sessions, people didn't know who I was yet. I knew that I needed to do something really shocking, you know what I mean? Because already it was a thing of, there are not enough, the conversation was, there are not enough people who know Rouge in order for Rouge to feel that she can release a body of work. I knew that that was a real conversation that people were having, that maybe I had not released enough singles, I had not released enough projects prior to the Near Recessions. So when it came down to it, I was like, okay, let me showcase a version of myself that people don't know, and a version of myself that will lead people to want to hear the music more, to want to understand why I took this route. And one way to do that is visuals. because there's always conversation when it comes to visuals, whether it be music videos, whether it just be what people are putting online. And like you said, I studied this, and I felt like, here's an opportunity for me to really showcase, what I love, which is hip hop and music, but also my other side, with another part of me that I love a lot, and something that I studied, and bring it together in terms of trying to uplift something that is really important to me, which is hip hop music. Also because I felt like we just weren't being creative anymore in the hip hop space. Like there's something about, there's something about our genre that leads people to think that just putting out music is enough. And that's it. That the fans will take that in, and they'll just digest that forever and ever. When it's like, dude, these people are paying so much money to buy your music, to come to your shows, to troll whoever's trolling you online. Let's give them something to work with, So that's why I decided to shoot the movie. And I won't lie, Noni, I'll never do it again for a while, because wow.
Why?
Wow. Guys, I felt like falling apart every day. It was the hardest, guys, it was the hardest thing I have ever done. We shot that movie in like 4.5 days, 5 days.
But that's why you gave yourself too much pressure. Who shoots a movie in 4 days?
But that's the thing, it's one of those things we don't realize, when you're just like, I want to shoot a movie, but then you don't realize, oh no, but there's locations, and there's catering, and there's actors, and there's the people behind the actors, and there's production, and there's all these things that led to it being like, guys, we can only shoot this movie in 5 days because of all these little nitty-gritties. So guys, let me just say here, all of you guys in the film industry, the respect game I have for you is lit. It's too much. So yeah, no, it was tough. But once we did it, I was very happy. I was very proud that I had done it. And as you said, it won a SAFTA award. It actually won quite a few also PR awards as well, which I was really, really proud of. And it was a moment for hip hop that has never happened. I wish people would realize it more, but I'm not one to be like, look at my awards, but
maybe you need to become that person, because how are people going
there's only one AKA out of it.
No,
there's only
one outside of AKA, I really feel as though the females in music, and I'm not even saying just hip hop, the females in music don't blow their horns as often as they should. And I feel like we achieve way more at some points than some of the guys.
100%. But do you know why I've noticed it? I don't think, and this is not only to the supporters and whatever, the people on the streets and Twitters and whatever. This is also to just the industry as well. They are not ready to hear us blow our horns. I remember when I made that tweet that I was the best, the best female in the game, which I don't take back. Did I not break the internet with just a statement that these niggas are saying every damn day, to the point where it's just nothing? The moment I said it, everybody got involved. Everybody felt like they needed to give their 2 cents in terms of why a female feels that she is the best at what she does. It created an entire conversation that I had to go do interviews. And it was just like, why do I need to explain myself to you guys? It was so baffling.
It was baffling, but I feel like it was an important conversation that needed to be had. And I think at that point in time, yes, maybe you were the first person to kind of tweet that. These guys say it every day, but they don't stand back. They don't pull back when they say, I'm the best in the game. We see it all the time in tweets. They'll tell you about how I did this and how I did that. And hey, I won that award. I filled up the stadium. I did 1, 2, 3. And for me, it's testament to the fact that they don't back down on their word. I understand it was overwhelming for you, but I think the more people do that, the more recognition and the more appreciation will be had for females in the industry. Because like I said, I really feel as though the women put in way more work than the guys do, but we just get 100% appreciation because we're not blowing our own horns. And because if you don't blow your own horn, how am I going to do that for you?
100%. And that's why that's how it was just like, when that conversation happened, it was just so interesting to me. Like, I mean, it wasn't even the girls fighting. We weren't even the ones who were having the fight.
Yes.
It was the
girls were like, yes, it's fine. Let us say it.
We were just like, you know what? But it was the guys. The guys got involved, from an AKA to a Casper. It created a whole different type of fight where it's like, but guys, where does this, how are you guys fighting again? How are you guys, where did this become a you guys thing? And it was hilarious for me. And for me, it just made me realize more that I can't back down in terms of what I'm saying. And the reason why this argument is happening is because people can't really dispute what I'm saying. I've proven it too many times. And it just got a whole bunch of people riled up, because obviously people have their favorite females that they're all supporting, and they have to, you know, root for whoever they're rooting. But I guess you're right in terms of this conversation needed to happen, and we really need to just see ourselves in, you know, in a higher light than what people usually give us. Because if we don't, we're just going to remain in just, you know, in just the crowd. And I think that's the biggest problem. We're not just trying to remain in the crowd. We're trying to be up there with everybody else in the conversation.
Exactly. And I remember actually interviewing Reason once on my radio show. And I asked him, I was like, who is the one rapper that you're afraid of, who you could go toe to toe with? And he said Rouge. So the guys know who they are. They just don't want to admit it.
No, 100%. 100%. I actually had a AKA, and I always do a back and forth. Oh, he always tells me he's better than me at rapping. Like, this is a real argument.
He says that to everybody.
Yeah, daily. But I never back down, guys. Don't worry. That argument, until you will get a bar song, we need to shut this chat down. We need to shut it down.
Thank you. I'm glad you know that we want that bar song. I also just wanted to kind of dive in deep to some social issues which are also kind of affecting us as a country. Obviously, right now, the world is in a bit of turmoil over and above COVID-19. There's obviously Black Lives Matter, which is basically like erupting throughout the world. And so in South Africa alone, we've also got our issues with gender-based violence. And I wanted to find out from you as a woman, firstly, but also you as somebody who's got dual nationality, being South African, but also being from Congo. People have this conversation all the time about how Black Lives Matter, and yes, we all agree in agreement that Black Lives Matter, but in South Africa specifically, we also have the issue of xenophobia, which I think is a very big problem.
That's 100%.
Which I think South Africans have, and we're too emotional to admit that it's a big problem in South Africa and not necessarily the rest of the continent. How does that sit with you, being someone of dual nationality, working in a xenophobic country like South Africa? And I'm going to label South Africa xenophobic because I do believe that we are. But also even above that, having to deal with the fact that you're part Congolese, you're part South African, and you're female, with all of these things rushing in all at the same time.
I won't lie, it's very frustrating. You know, on a daily basis, you know, especially when you see it, especially for me, I see it on social media. You know, the conversations that I had, like I saw, my heart went out to Pearl 2C when I saw like there was just a whole crazy conversation that was going against her purely because she didn't believe in the idea of the violence that was being, you know, pushed towards foreigners in South Africa. And for me, I was fully behind what she was saying because, like you said, I'm Congolese. You know what I mean? I know a lot of the reasons as to why a lot of the foreigners are here. I know why my parents are here. You know what I mean? I know why my family's here. I know why, you know, a lot of other people, whether Congolese or not, but just foreigners in general. There's a reason why everybody's here. And yes, you know, I get the debates of people speaking on, you know, the illegal side of things, you know, the crime side of things, but that is not everyone. And that's the same conversation that people are having with the Black Lives Matter. And, you know, in terms of, you can't necessarily say that everybody is a bad apple because of the few that you're seeing. And the problem for me that hurt the most is when, and someone brought this up to me when we were actually talking about the Black Lives Matter thing that was all over our social media, and everything went black and everyone went black on their social medias and stuff. And someone brought up to me a really good point of, it's so funny, South Africa is talking about Black Lives Matter and we are going black on our social medias. But what about the foreigners? What about our next door neighbors as well? Are they not the same conversation? But we are so quick to come and be like, yes, America, we support you. A completely different continent. But now when we are talking about our brothers and sisters who are legit next door, it's a whole different chat. And that's why for me, I'm never afraid to speak on it on my social media. And I've been shot down a lot. I expect, you know, a lot of the xenophobic people to come for me and whatnot, but I can't. I love South Africa. I love Congo. Neither of them am I going to give up, or am I going to come here and be like, I'm not from one or the other. But at the end of the day, there's an honest conversation that we need to be having here as South Africans in terms of why are we so against our neighbors? What is the problem? And it can't just be about crime, because there's a whole gender-based violence situation that is happening right now that is being done by our own people in this country. You know what I mean?
Own woman.
The whole conversation. Exactly. That is happening right now. And women are complaining, and we're talking about this, but still there's still a whole conversation in terms of foreigners are a problem. And really, we need to change the narrative. It's a narrative that really, really needs to change. And there's for me, you know, the problem comes in when you see a whole Pearl Thusi trending and her being told that she must fall because she doesn't believe in the negativity that is being thrown against foreigners. Yeah. It's a really weird narrative that is happening. And I feel like a lot more people need to speak up to this, because the same people who are trying to, you know, travel the world, especially us artists, where we're trying to travel the world, we're trying to represent countries, we're trying to represent our continent, but we have a problem with our next door neighbors. It says a lot. If you're trying to just make sure that your story is only connecting with South Africa, then that makes sense. But don't complain here when it just stays in this one place. Because that is not what I'm trying to do. That's not my story, especially as a foreigner, especially as a woman. I know, if anybody knows me, people know how much I advocate for women. And I'm talking about whether it be in the game, whether it be in our industry, whether it be just in general. In terms of even the gender-based violence, I had my own episode of, you know, being beaten down by men because they just wanted my car. And I'm talking about two guys. I was one girl. I was by myself. I wasn't even fighting. I wasn't going to argue. It's a vehicle. But even before it got to the point of asking me for my belongings, it went straight to a beating. And that is and my worry here is that that's almost a culture in South Africa. A culture in South Africa is, you know, men being violent before anything. All they know is to throw hands first, before having a conversation and really delving into what is the interpersonal problem that is within themselves that is leading them to become such a violent group of individuals. And that's a conversation that we need to have.
It's definitely deep rooted, and I think as South Africans we need to constantly have this conversation, because the only way we'll be able to change the narrative is by throwing it in people's faces and stop putting it under the carpet, because the moment it's swept under, that's when people don't realize that they're actually being wrong. And
100%
support you. When Pearl Thusi was trending for such a absurd thing, because even when I went to check, I was like, what did Pearl do? Because she likes to be controversial and she's my friend, I love her. But I went to go and check and I was like, okay, what's going on? I was like, I cannot believe this is why you're able to fall, because she's defending our brothers and sisters of the continent. But we want to go and defend a country that doesn't even know that Africa has 54 countries. They think Africa is one country, you know? So that for me was very telling of the type of country that we're living in right now, when we need to keep having the conversations, we need to keep speaking out about it, and we need to keep educating people as to how it's not so bad to have our brothers and sisters in our country, obviously those who are legally here and are documented enough to actually be here and to earn an income, because otherwise why would Home Affairs allow you to be here? Do you know what I mean? So I really feel that we need to band together and to continuously keep on spreading the right message with regards to that. I wanted to also, just to kind of wrap up, I know you're working on your new album as well. And well, I don't know if it's finished, but you know, we'll get into it. But the last conversation, or one of the conversations that we had, was that you were also looking to possibly have a more continental feel for your album. Are you hoping to use your album to also expose other artists to South Africa so that they can open their minds up to not necessarily being xenophobic? Because Afrobeats has come into South Africa very heavily, which has been accepted. Now it's about getting the rest of the continent in. So was that your intention?
100%. And I think for me, the main focus of it was that I needed to really introduce Rouge to the continent, because I've spoken so much about, I'm Congolese, but it's like, yeah, but Congo doesn't know me. South Africa knows I'm Congolese, and that's a problem. And I felt like it was really time for me to really expand outside of my country, being able to also experiment with a lot of different sounds, and being able to work with artists that South Africa hasn't really opened up the idea to, you know what I mean? I think for us, it's always been almost like okay, we take it to Nigeria, then we're good. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, let's work with Nigeria. Okay, that's enough. Where it's like, no ways, guys. There's so much more sounds. There's so many more different artists. There's a whole different world of music that we haven't touched on. And we're kind of shocked sometimes when we see that we're not hitting the numbers that all these other countries are hitting. Like, we just saw Diamond Platinum. Diamond Platinum just got 1 billion views. And that is something that people are like, wow, guys, how is it? And it's because he knows to tap into a different market, and he decided to tap into the Francophone market. And that made me realize that South Africa almost feels like an island. We really sometimes believe that, it's just us and it's enough. And then we wonder why, not enough conversations are being made about us all over the world. Why we're not becoming, these superstars like the Davidos and all of these people. And it's because we really need to expand ourselves more. We really need to look outside of ourselves more. And that's the route that I've decided to take with this project, which I'm so excited, because I've got to work with people that I've dreamed of working with, where it was like, there's no way, this person is too far. But now I can say I've got a Sarkodie, I can say I've got a Yemi Alade. It's going to be a project like none other. I'm so excited. Nani, you're on it, guys. Miss Cosmo's on this album. Y'all don't even know. It's amazing.
Those are trade secrets, girl. We're gonna release that later.
But you'll hear it, girl.
Thank you so much for having this conversation with me, Rouge. I really do appreciate it, and for opening yourself up to the viewers. But also, over and above that, I hope you are keeping safe and sanitizing. And well, we know you're socially distancing because you're staying at home and you're playing FIFA.
Okay,
what's that about?
Guys, I love being indoors. This is happy quarantine. This is what happy quarantine looks like. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, you've even picked up a new hobby by playing TV games. I never thought I'd see the day, but
Oh, Miss Cosmo, don't call it TV game. Why you make it sound so childish? PlayStation.
Oh,
guys are twerking for this, babes. Guys are twerking for this. So understand, this is serious things. No jokes here. We are serious.
Thank you again, Rouge, for having this conversation. And I hope to obviously speak to you again soon on this podcast, obviously not via Zoom. We will be able
100%.
Hopefully get this into more of a production once things have settled down, and obviously we are able to get back into seeing each other personally. But for now, I'm glad that we had this conversation, and and I hope people support you even more, because we all know how talented you are, but I think people just need to open themselves up a little bit more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone who is watching and supporting, and please watch She Social. This is very important. These are very important conversations that only females can have from a female perspective. Yes. So thank you so much, Rain.
A big shout out to Rouge, man. Thank you for joining us and watching Rouge, and obviously having that conversation with her. She is explosive, as you can see, and she's got so much more to offer to the world. All right, so we are not done as yet. We still have another guest for today on the She Social podcast. I do have Fanele Grace coming up after this. Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the She Social podcast. Quite keen to actually have my second guest for today, the one and only Fanele Grace. She is a house DJ. And she's doing such amazing things, and she's on the come up, obviously, in South Africa. But also, there's so much more to her that we're going to find out about today on the podcast. What's up, Fanele? How are you?
I'm good. I'm cold more than anything.
Hey, everybody right now. It's cold. It's freezing. I think even me, you can see, I brought the polo neck out because we're trying to make sure that we're keeping warm indoors. But outside of that, we're also on lockdown. So I guess it's also working out in our favor, the fact that we're actually indoors, because at least then we don't have to be outside catching whatever fevers or catching whatever diseases as it is, because we're trying to stay home and trying to stay safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, I've been good. I mean, I go to work and I come straight back home because it's so I don't catch funny things on my way. But yeah, overall, I've been good. Lockdown has been quite hectic, I think, for me.
Yes.
Emotionally, physically, it's been quite a strain. And I think it's because we didn't expect such a thing to like happen, you
Yes.
know. And I think we faced so many new challenges that we never thought would have to like face like head on. But yeah.
So we're going to get into that in a moment. Obviously, I want to find out just a little bit more as to how lockdown has been treating you. But I did want to kind of introduce you just to the viewers as to who Fanele Grace is, why we should be paying attention to you. As mentioned, you are a house DJ. I just wanted to get into a little bit of your backstory as to why you got into DJing in the first place. What was it that made it for you to actually decide to, get onto the decks and say, I love this music so much, I need to make it a career?
I've always been like into entertainment. I mean, growing up, I always knew my destiny was to somewhere be entertaining people one way or another. And then I was into music, I was into drama, I was into a whole bunch of things. And my older brother, he's a DJ and producer. So he had like equipment at home. And I remember it was straight after high school. I was by his place and he was busy mixing on like his tractor controller. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me try this out, you know. And it's funny enough, I actually wanted to be a hip hop DJ then because I had all the music. Yeah.
Okay.
And like, I'm like, cool, let me start mixing. And I just wasn't getting it. Like, it was a disaster.
Hard, hey?
Yeah, like it just.
You see, how DJs always make it seem like they're the superstars. Hip hop is so much harder to mix.
No, that I respect hip hop DJs because I always remember the first time I tried mixing, and I remember I was trying to mix. I think it was AO and one of Casper's songs, and it just didn't work. And for me, I was like, okay, let me try house music because there was also like folders there. Recorded about 3 or 4 mixes, and from there I was like, okay, cool. Let me actually try take this seriously and try be better than my brother because he wasn't really into being out there in the industry. So he kept to himself and focused more on his professional career. I put this because, being a deep professional. But I was like, okay, let me use the platform then to get music out there and to still entertain and fulfill my purpose that I feel like I had.
That's such an interesting story. I remember actually the first time that I saw you DJing was out at Taboo. And obviously, when you're seeing another DJ coming on the decks, you're like, oh, okay, cool, who's this new girl? And you're small like me. And I was like, okay, it's another small female DJ. Yes, another one for the bank. But then I saw you pull out your controller and then I was like, that thing is so small. What is she going to actually work with when she's busy using that thing? But the way you rocked the crowd, I think that was one of the most memorable sets that I'd actually seen, because I was like, she came through and you literally just rocked us with your Gom set, and it was at that pinnacle when Gom was obviously at the height of its fame, but also over and above that, I think you just knew exactly what songs to play, how to get people moving, and that's not something easy to do, especially when you are a DJ who is coming on at such a peak hour. Because it was really, it was like the pressure. If I'm not mistaken.
It was a hectic night. I will never forget that night because I think it was it Pearl's birthday? So everyone who was at her party had now come to Taboo. Like, the pressure was there. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? It's either I rock it or it's going to go completely bad. And I remember someone said, the one thing I know how to do is stay consistent when it comes to the music. Once I start rocking, I keep it going.
Yeah.
There's no, I bring it down and I lose momentum basically. And yeah, a track selection I believe is really important because you're taking people on a journey. And I remember even Narito was screaming there like, hey, play this song. And I'm like, it's coming, like it's gonna play. And I played it like I think two tracks.
When people come to you and they're just like, no, I want this song, I was like, yeah, but can you allow me to do my job? Yes.
It's like, it's coming. I know what people want, I know what people want to hear at this point in time, or what's rocking and so on. So yeah, I really will never forget that night. It was a big highlight of my career, I believe.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that's when a lot of people also started noticing you. But outside of your DJ career, we're going to get back into the DJing in a moment. On a day-to-day basis, you're also a school teacher.
Yes.
Which I didn't see coming, especially when you posted about it, because you were like, no, I remember you tweeted, you were like, hey, I'm going for a job interview. I'm actually so nervous, this, that. And then you came back on Twitter, you're like, I got the job, guys. And then we're like, okay, cool. What's the job? But you're a school teacher. I totally didn't see that coming. So just take us on the journey of you actually being passionate about education, but also over and above that, passionate about music.
I'm a big believer in listening to your instincts and listening to callings. And I was going through a period where after graduating with my undergrad, I was kind of like all over the place, like in terms of, because I was a social media manager and then I was doing this job and that job. And my mom was like, okay, why don't you just try this angle and see, because you've always liked children and you know you can pick a subject that you're passionate about. So I teach life orientation, and I think I'm one of the best people to teach about life, because I've lived life. As young as I am, I've lived life. So I'm like, okay, cool. I applied and I got accepted. I'm like, okay, why not? Let me just figure it out. And then during the year when I was studying it last year, we had teaching practicals and so on. And I was really like nervous because they throw you in the deep end. They're like, here, teach the class for the next 3 weeks, I mean, the last time I stepped foot in high school was when I was in high school, Yeah. So I did it and it was good. It felt good. I felt like, the kids were very like receptive of my energy and it was so much fun. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me just really take this seriously as well. And then I applied for the job and I got the job. And that's something I didn't want to take for granted, because finding a teaching job is very difficult in this country. I mean, if you look at a job application, you can see the views of how many people have viewed that specific post, and there's over 1,000 people. Wow. So it's quite a hectic market and there's a lot of competition. So when I got the job, I'm like, cool, that's amazing. And then not only do I teach life orientation, I teach creative arts, which means I get to basically share my passion in music and drama and the arts and so on, which like I've loved completely. When I teach the younger grades, we were doing drama, we're going to be doing music later on, and I'm looking forward to like sharing what I know about my knowledge of music, the things I've learned in high school, the things I've learned being a DJ, because you need to have a musical ear to be a DJ, in my opinion. People think it's quite easy to mix music, but really it's about how does it sound here, your transition and everything, the melodies and so on. So it's one of those things where I feel like now I'm able to share that passion still every day, so awesome. On a daily basis.
What grade do you teach?
I teach from grade 8 to 12.
Really? So you take all of them? It must be a lot of work.
It is a lot.
The one thing that I don't think people actually have conversations with or are enlightened to is how difficult it is being a teacher, especially around this time where obviously COVID-19 is coming in and it's rife, and we're on lockdown, but the school kids are also then affected. And I don't think people are very aware of how school kids are affected in the long run, because you'll find that maybe say the matrics are losing out on certain syllabuses, and they might have to write their matric exam having missed out on 3 months of work, or even the younger kids, maybe say even the grade 8s who are coming in, and they have to accustom themselves to a new school, a new environment, but not necessarily know how to then juggle that in, and they've lost the 3 months. So how is it that you've been able to kind of keep abreast with getting to the information to those kids, but making sure that they're going to be ready for the end of the year?
So we were lucky enough to have access to things like Zoom and like other schools. So the moment school shut down, we were supposed to be going on school holidays, and we did take that holiday, but then we said, guys, listen, time is not on our side and we really don't know what the future holds. So from the moment we access to Zoom, we were just pushing content. So luckily for our school and for many of the subjects, we are ahead of what the government's put out. So we're initially supposed to be in term 2. The content we've covered, we're in term 3. So that kind of puts them at ease. And I always try to comfort the kids on some, look, not you guys aren't the only ones stressed. We're also stressed for you. We're all in the same situation. However, we can get through this, and we both need to meet each other like halfway, because I'm also stressed with content getting put out and content changing. I mean, content changed just last week with the curriculum, and I had to tell them, look, listen, things have changed. You have new projects and assignments for me that weren't did before, but I don't want us to feel like we're under pressure of some sort. We are ahead of the game, and I'm constantly then having to use the platform of being an LO teacher and checking in on them. I used to do a thing with my Zoom classes of checking in, and they express how they're feeling, and are they anxious, are they not anxious, how do they feel about getting back to school. I'd give them a presentation on how to prepare themselves coming back according to the virus and so on. And I'll tell them, okay, this is how you can protect yourselves and so on. And it's just about caring for one another at the same time, because we don't know what's going to happen. So
what are some of the ways that the school has also kind of put measures in place to protect the children from COVID-19 should they go back to school in the next month?
So social distancing, they no longer go to each teacher's classrooms. We've put one specific classroom per grade, because they will split the 2 grades for 2 classrooms, because they were the biggest classrooms. And then each student is assigned to their own personal desk. They can't use other kids' desks and so on. We've put tapes all over the school where they must stand if they're going to be standing around during break time, and there's like 1 meter distance apart. Before they enter the school premises, they're tested with that thermometer thing.
Okay.
And if it's over a certain temperature, they're told to go back home. And if they feel like they're feeling or they're getting flu symptoms or so on, they are encouraged not to come to school. One girl had an asthma attack and she didn't come to school the next day because we were like, just stay away.
Just rather be safe, babes, please.
Even before we get into the classroom, we sanitize them. They wear their masks throughout the day as well. And as we teach, we wear masks and we have face shields too. So we really are very proactive when it comes to protecting them.
I love the fact that you guys are being proactive, because I think that's the biggest concern that a lot of parents and a lot of people actually have as it stands, because obviously we've seen the stats. There was a report that came out in Cape Town about a school where 1,500 pupils had been infected already with the virus. So that already is kind of scary for people to then say, okay, rather I keep my kid at home and they're not going to continue with the school year. But then that's counterproductive, because the child needs to progress. Because then what about the others who are then going to move up a grade, and then there's not enough space? You know what I mean? Exactly. So all of those are concerns that a lot of people kind of have. Are you guys managing that with regards to how you're going to move them forward?
I'd like to believe we are. I mean, one thing we do we're good at is communication with the parents, and those that miss out on lessons, we've been recording them on Zoom and we send them to the parents, communicate what's been missed out. We've opened a communication between the teachers and the pupils also on WhatsApp. So I'd like to believe they're very good at texting me and saying, ma'am, what did I miss out on? What do I need to catch up on? We really are making sure everyone is caught up with the content. When the grades come back, so this week, grade 11s are coming back for us. When they do come back, we spend a couple of days making sure everyone is caught up, because obviously not everyone had access to Zoom and have like Wi-Fi at home. So we make sure we spend the first 2-3 days just making sure everyone, has caught up with the contents, they've caught up with the work and so on, because we can't leave people behind. And it was very evident when a couple of learners were behind. They were very withdrawn in the classroom. They didn't participate until, we figured out, okay, it's because you haven't caught up. Here's the work. So this is what you need to do.
That's great, man. All right, so getting back into you being a DJ, I wanted to also then find out, how is it that you then juggle the two? Because I remember at a time when I was actually DJing and I was still working at the bank, I had to basically juggle my time. I had to make sure that my work was done on time, but also that I was ready enough to do interviews and do PR moments for myself as a DJ, but also over and above that, then keep the two kind of separate, because I didn't want my clients to kind of feel as though that I wasn't paying attention to them, but I also had to pay attention to my brand. How are you juggling the two to also then still put Fanele Grace at the helm of your career, because you still want that to succeed, over and above you still being a very good teacher?
If I can be honest, I feel like I kind of have neglected Fanele Grace as a brand, because I was putting so much focus on this teaching career and so on. And I also was very nervous of, if I come out as a DJ, how will the kids take it? What if their parents or other teachers find out? Will they take me seriously, And so I really did kind of put it to the side, especially in the beginning of the year. But something happened. I think it was one of Mihlali's parties. She put me on the lineup. And obviously now the kids saw on social media, and they came into school the next day ma'am.
So excited.
Hi, bo, ma'am. Can't do unje. They were losing their mind. And I was just like, no, I didn't want to say anything because, you know, I don't know how you guys will take it. But they took it so well. Even I was punishing the one kid the one time, trying to give them a demerit, and they were saying no. And another kid was like, I will take that signature. It's an autograph, actually. Like,
I like this.
As much as I did neglect it, I kind of feel like not only owe it to myself, but I owe it to them to show that I can do both. And it's possible to be someone that's successful in both different types of careers. So I'm at this stage right now where I'm trying to figure things out. I don't know if you've seen, I'm going back on SoundCloud and recording mixes and so on. Luckily with school, it's kind of nice because 7 o'clock till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I have the whole afternoon then and evening to do what I want to do. And it's about disciplining myself too, because last year I'd have constant night gigs during the week as well. And I still had school the next day. But I had to tell myself, okay, I have to pass. So I have to wake up in the morning. So, and it was a case of, I must go to my gig and I must play and go home. I can't stay, drink, have a party until 6 o'clock in the morning like I used to. I think discipline really has to come into all of this as well. So it's been difficult trying to like put things, both of them. I've been neglecting one, and I'm afraid if I then focus on Fanele Grace, the brand, I start neglecting my career as a teacher as well. So right now, I've been using this lockdown to figure out how to put them both at the same level, you know, because I feel like I am like an inspiration of some sort to, you know, the younger generation. And that's exactly why I started this job, and exactly why I started wanted to be a DJ or someone out there, because to inspire other people to do better, you know. To be a female DJ, how many we can count on our hands, like the most prominent female DJs in the industry. So I want to be one of those people to the kids, basically. Yeah.
So awesome. I love the fact that you're still engaging them, even though obviously they've kind of found out your secrets. It's not much of a secret. But
yeah, I mean, they can ask me now. They're like, ma'am, don't you miss DJing now that it's lockdown? And I'm like, you're like, I'm your teacher right now.
But you know, at the end of the day, we have to stay safe, and we have to make sure that we're keeping with social distancing. And that's obviously going to affect DJing going forward, because now we won't be in a position where we'll be able to play for tens and thousands of people at a time. We're going to have to get into a position of maybe even playing for smaller crowds and moving ourselves back. So it's a bit of a reset. How do you feel that the lockdown's kind of changing things for you as a DJ? Because now you have to rethink how you're going to reintroduce yourself after lockdown, because that's basically what's happening, is that if we're obviously not doing these digital performances or whatever the case may be, we still have to put ourselves out there some way, somehow. We need to figure that out in a new way now, because we're now in a digital space. How do you find that we're going to be able to do that?
You see, I think that's a very difficult question, because like you're saying, what would have happened if we didn't have platforms like live streams? How would we then put ourselves out there, you know? So I think it's just constantly having to remind people, like, look, we still exist, you know, we're still out there, and we're still going to share our talents in various ways. I mean, we had that Don't Rush challenge where we had female DJs audition. We've been putting out mixes throughout lockdown as well, because we still have to entertain the people somehow, some way, and get our names out there. And I think it's just trying to figure out now how to rebrand ourselves as people who are still want to entertain everyone, but we are limited in that way, because even brand companies, their budgets have been cut as well. They can't do as much as they want to do. So we also have to work with them and figure out how we can come together and still, you know, give life to the industry, basically.
Do you see yourself releasing music in the future?
Definitely. I don't know what's like stopping me or giving me guababa, actually, because I had one song with DJ Michelle, which was cool, but it wasn't me completely, and I just feel like it wasn't on my terms, if I can put it that way. So I'll download FL Studio, then I'll delete it, then I'll download, then I'll delete. I don't know, but I do want to give up music, definitely. I mean, I think it's really important as a DJ to put out music and have your own kind of, you know, sound as well to put out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing I'm trying to figure out. Do I go with the home sound? Do I create my own sound? It's just, yeah.
Within music, I think the important thing is always understanding who you are as a person and what makes you stand out compared to the rest of the people. So you'll find your time. I mean, I also took a very long time before I released my first single, and I did that because I was also figuring out, what is my sound? What do I want people to hear? What do I want people to recognize with? So I think that's the important part about it, is don't rush it. If you still feel you need to take another year, another 2 years, then take that time. But when you do it, then obviously you will know that you're ready, and what you put out will be what you want people to know. Do you understand? So there's really no pressure, babes. Do you? At the end of the day, we know where to find you.
There's no pressure, but like, and I keep telling myself, like, don't rush things, it will be fine. And especially because I'm so young as well, and I have so much time. But then as much as, even though I have so much time, I still have to be consistent in the things that I do, you know? So it's a whole bunch of things I'm trying to like put together. And battle with, because like, I'm young, I have so much time, and I have so much things I can put out, but you know, I can't just stop now, basically.
You have time, but you don't have a lot of time, because I used to tell myself, "Ooh, I've got so much time. Hey, I'm in my 20s." That ended very quickly. So, I think just planning and putting it together is definitely the direction you need to take. But I do appreciate your time, Fanele. It's been really awesome having this conversation with you and getting to know you a little bit better. I think that's what was intended by the She Social podcast. Obviously, we will see if we can try and bring She Social, the event, back after lockdown, depending on the regulations. Yes, because you were resident DJ on the She Social events, but we'll see how we kind of bring that back. And I will continue supporting you, and I think the people will continue supporting you as well. And I love the fact that you're impacting a younger generation and encouraging them to get into the arts, even though they're still in high school. And obviously a lot of people kind of then say, if you're getting into arts, you're not going to make money, but you are showing them that there is other opportunities to actually get into the industry, and I commend you for that.
And I want to say thank you also for giving me the platform. I feel like you've always rooted from me since that time we met at Taboo. Like, I've always known you there for me, and I really do thank you. And I show so much gratitude to you, and I always talk about you to people like, Miss Cosmo, like, put me on.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining us, Fanele. Thank you so much again for joining us for episode 2 of the She Social podcast. Please do join me again next week, where I will be interviewing more prominent women in the music industry, in the entertainment industry, whether they're behind the scenes or whether they're in front of the camera. We need to keep on sharing our stories, and I will be making sure that you get those stories right here on the She Social podcast. Continue to subscribe and join me again.